It was 3 days after 9/11. It was September 14th, 2001. And Congress was taking a vote to authorize the president to use military force around the world to respond to 9/11 attacks. And you don't often see a vote that looks like this on anything, but this was the vote in the Senate that day. 98-0. Not a single Senate vote against that global war authorization. It was unanimous. Here's what it looked like over in the House. Same thing, almost. 420 yes votes and 1 no. It was not unanimous in the House. The tally was 420-1. One solitary vote against going to war. That vote came from Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California, who went to the floor that day to explain why she stood alone.
I am convinced that military action will not prevent further acts of international terrorism against the United States. Let's step back for a moment. Let's just pause just for a minute and think through the implications of our actions today so that this does not spiral out of control.
For the record, since that vote which authorized immediately the invasion of Afghanistan, since that vote, we are now approaching year 15 of our war in Afghanistan. We also have troops fighting in Iraq. We have troops flying bombing raids over Syria. We have U.S. forces operating in places like Yemen and Somalia and Pakistan, just to name a few. Barbara Lee is used to standing alone, especially on matters of war. She is unafraid of standing alone on these matters. She always has been. But right now, Barbara Lee is waging another fight about another war, and she finds herself in a similarly lonely position. It's the war that the U.S. military has been waging for the last 10 months against ISIS in Iraq and Syria without any authorization from Congress. Congress is constitutionally obligated to declare war, right? But in this case, Congress has decided to just pretend like it's not their job. President Obama asked Congress to authorize this war back in January. Since then, they have done precisely nothing. But this week, Barbara Lee attempted to change that inside the House. On Tuesday, the Appropriations Committee was marking up the defense spending bill for this year. Barbara Lee got up and proposed adding language to that bill, which simply said that we, the Congress, have a duty to debate and authorize wars. It didn't say we must vote by such and such a date. It didn't say we should vote any particular way. It didn't say actually Congress should do anything. It simply said, basically as a reminder, hey, Congress, we acknowledge it's our job to declare war. It's basically just a reminder of what's in the Constitution, an assertion of what Congress's duty is. But that reminder was apparently a controversial enough idea that it generated a ton of Republican opposition. But interestingly, it did not generate unanimous Republican opposition. Barbara Lee is used to standing alone. She's happy to do it when she needs to, but she got some backup, even from some Republicans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of the gentlelady's amendment. I think the gentlelady's point is absolutely correct. We have a constitutional obligation here. We are handing over war-making authority to the executive branch to all future presidents with both hands. It is a gigantic mistake not to do our job.
Republican Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma basically saying, you know what? I'm with Barbara Lee on this. She's right. This is our responsibility. And when the Barbara Lee amendment came up for a vote in the Republican-led House, it passed. It passed in that committee by a vote of 29-22. A handful of Republicans supported it. Barbara Lee won. She got her colleagues to agree that, yes, this is their job. The whole war thing is Congress's job to make a decision on. She got them to agree that it's their job. Now there's the matter of making them do their job. Right? It's not just an academic exercise, right? Congress really ought to be grappling with and voting on whether or not Americans should be there in that military fight against ISIS and why they should be there and what they should be doing and what the strategy is. And getting Congress to do that, to actually debate this. That next step, that gauntlet has now been thrown down by Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern of Massachusetts. He and Barbara Lee and Republican Walter Jones have now introduced a resolution that aims to force the House of Representatives to finally debate the war, to force a debate on whether the troops should be pulled out of the fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, since their mission has not been authorized by Congress. Congressman Jim McGovern on the House floor today delivered an absolutely withering indictment of how Congress has blown this issue so far. Watch this.
Our servicemen and servicewomen are brave and dedicated. Congress, however, is the poster child for cowardice. Either Congress needs to live up to its responsibilities and authorize this war, or by its continuing neglect and indifference, our troops should be withdrawn and come home. It is that simple. All we witness is dithering and twiddling and complaining and whining and blaming others, and the complete and total shirking of responsibility over and over and over and over again. Enough. Enough. If this House doesn't have the stomach to carry out its constitutional duty to debate and authorize this latest war, then we should bring our troops home. If the cowardly Congress can go home each night to their families and loved ones, then our brave troops should receive that same privilege.